Yo, it's Friday, March 11th. Happy Friday, everybody. This week sure went fast. So much happened, and now we have China calling the U.S. an empire of lies in retaliation to the U.S. warning of sanctions on China. This was a hard story to find. I heard it reported on Timcast, and I looked it up. The one article I could find at 4 a.m. this morning is the one in the description below. It said, Beijing, March 10th, attempting to shift Washington's responsibility for instigating the Ukraine crisis. Some U.S. politicians and media have recently fabricated false information about the conflict to mislead the world and blame China. Once again, laying bare America's nature as a notorious empire of lies. To preserve itself, the United States must invent falsehoods. These range from a pretext to invade Iraq in 2003 to misinformation, such as the collapse of the Cuban medical system under the pandemic. America plays the same tricks on China. To contain China, the United States has smeared the Asian country over its so-called genocide and forced labor, and labeled China's firm actions to defend its legitimate interests as wolf warrior diplomacy. Meanwhile, the United States has long employed its propaganda machine to peddle these lies. From films to media outlets, from NGOs to online spammers, different parts of the U.S. propaganda chain cooperate closely to indoctrinate people worldwide with hollow and ideology-based slogans. This is obviously Chinese propaganda if you can't tell. The U.S. wants to sanction any tech companies doing business with Russia right now via the export controls. Export controls are U.S. laws and regulations that regulate and restrict the release of critical technologies, information, and services to foreign nations within and outside the United States. So this is a risky move. Once again, if I had Biden's ear, I would advise against this. This will only lead to more conflict with China. For the third time on this show, I'm recommending you go read Chaos Under Heaven by Josh Rogan. China's been eyeing this up for some time, and with a guy like Joe Biden in office, now's their time, I'm pretty sure. So clearly China's lying to its people. They want their people to hate us. Everybody lies. Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. But some lie so much that they lose morality, what's actually real or not, and they start believing some of their lies. We have a problem with lying in our country, too. Look at Jen Psaki. Like Lindsey Graham, she's another person I try to avoid. Everything she says is a lie. But of course, she's so far away from the truth again. Everyone is going off on her, and I'm about to go off a little bit too. I view her as a representation of a lot of what's wrong with our country. She keeps calling the Parents' Bill of Rights in Florida the gay bill. At this point, she must have sold her soul, and she must have sold it a long time ago because everybody knows this to be false, and yet she keeps saying it and running with it and then bullies everyone who defies it. She's the bully. Jen Psaki is a bully, and she's going to make a lot of money as soon as we vote Biden out. She doesn't care what she says, and she'll do whatever it takes to make you look bad for not trying for trying to get the truth, because she's a bully. Yesterday I talked about the first play in the Democratic playbook. Here's the second play. They project whatever they themselves are onto others as if they're attempting to self-justify their own irrational behavior. So when Jen Psaki calls people bullies, she's saying the fact is she is a bully. And then she also went out of her way a couple of days ago to lie about the gas prices. If you missed it, check it out.
Noticed this week that your gas prices have gone up. I want to talk to you a little bit about why. A lot of it has to do with Vladimir Putin. The reality is that Russia is one of the 3 largest oil producers in the world. And the fact that they have started this conflict, invaded a foreign country, and they are such a big producer of oil in the world is the reason why the global oil markets are disturbed right now and why your gas prices are going up. The president's going to do everything he can to bring down the price of gas for the American people. But there are a few facts you should be aware of. U.S. production of oil and gas is rising. In fact, in the first year of the Biden presidency, there was more oil and gas produced in the United States than the first year of the Trump presidency. And there's opportunities to produce more from here. But part of this is on the oil companies. Right now, there are 9,000 approved unused permits that oil and gas companies could tap into now to ramp up production. So what the president is doing is ensuring we're taking steps here to get more oil out into the global marketplace. That includes the release of 40 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve back in the fall, and he just announced the planned release of an additional 30 million barrels. The only way to protect the United States over the long term is to become energy independent. That's why the president has been so focused on investing in clean energy technologies, so that we can rely on that and not President Putin to set the price of gas.
So, first of all, those 9,000 permits, I'm willing to bet like 8,500 of those permits sit on land that's been deemed non-drillable, or the environment will have too many consequences if we try to dig there. So she's so full of crap. I can't even believe it. She blames everything on Putin, discounting how much gas has already gone up under Biden. You know, when Biden canceled the Keystone Pipeline, it wasn't about how it wasn't producing oil at that time. It was about the effects it had on the price of gas. And if you remember when he did that, the cost of gas went up. So she also said the president would do whatever he can to bring gas prices down. Just so you know, we're really not projected to feel the effects of Russia for another month or so. So prices are only going to go up, and for a while, if not staying up. Don't forget, Democrats want to limit oil and gas production. This is playing right into their agenda. Gas prices will not be going down. I'm calling it right now. I hope I'm wrong. She also said Biden produced more oil in his first year than Trump. What a ridiculous statement. And technically it's true, but it's because Trump was the first one to start the production and should be the one getting the credit. They had that oil production because of Trump. Biden got rid of it. Just another reason this is his fault. And then they act like 40 million barrels is a lot of oil. And I'm no expert, and I may have misunderstood this, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't even get our country through a month, maybe less. She says we should be energy independent when we almost were just a couple years ago. You thought Orange Man was bad. What about Orange Woman? I think Orange Woman bad too. And just so you know, I find redheads attractive. It's not that I have a problem with redheads. She's orange, like Trump. If it was okay to say Orange Man bad, then it's okay to say Orange Woman bad. I bet a lot of people in Democrats are disagreeing and getting upset with that. I guess rules for me and not for thee. What about the word equality? You like to use that a lot. I guess only certain people decide what equality looks like. So, enough of that. Some tech cyber news. China-backed hackers breached government networks in at least 6 U.S. states, per a report that came out this week from The Verge. A technically advanced hacking group backed by the Chinese government has compromised the computer systems of at least 6 U.S. state governments, according to a newly published threat report by cybersecurity firm Mandiant. The group, which Mandiant refers to as APT-41, targeted state governments in the U.S. between May 2021 and February 2022, according to the report. Where networks were breached, Mandiant found evidence of an exfiltration of personally identifying information consistent with the espionage operation, although the company said it could not make a definitive assessment of the intent of the attack at this time. All in all, Mandiant's research paints a picture of a formidable, consistently adapting adversary. I know I've been thinking and assuming this was already happening. Maybe the story came out this week given the tensions between us and China. I'm also pretty sure I read a story like this every year or maybe every 6 months. It would appear that we're always under some sort of a cyber attack, and I'm willing to bet we're doing this to other countries and other folks as well. Next, Biden Democrats lose ground on key issues, per the Wall Street Journal poll finds. Washington, President Biden and his fellow Democrats have lost ground to Republicans on several of the issues most important to voters. No shit. A new Wall Street Journal poll finds a troubling sign for the party seeking to extend its controlling majority of Congress for another 2 years. You think? I've been really hard on Democrats, but so you know, I've also voted for them before, and I've voted for Republicans as well. So Biden and Democrats alike are not for the people of America anymore, though. It's pretty darn clear to me. I ranted about this earlier in the week, calling them American oligarchs. If you missed it, you better go check out my previous episodes from this week. I'll just add, however, that I'm not a fan of polls. And when they all point in the same direction, I get worried. Remember 2016? So we'll have to wait and see. I do think Republicans are not much better, but they pretty much do nothing. And right now, I think a little more nothing is better than overreacting and coming up with all these fake problems and then trying to implement policy around these fake problems or get rid of things like the Keystone Pipeline, even though it wasn't producing oil at the time. I get it. But when we shut it down and gas goes up 70 cents, and it only puts it's just the first domino of dominoes that are going to fall to continue to lead to the gas price going up. And that was that was what honest Trump supporters liked about Trump, right? He came with a lot of bad, but he actually moved the needle in a few areas, and Democrats came in and pushed us all right back. When you have Jen Psaki trying to take credit for Biden's first-year oil production, the average Jeff out there sees right through that BS. So I assume we'll see a red wave this year. I know I won't be voting for a Democrat myself for a very long time, but time will have to tell like time tells all. I'm not saying I'll never vote for a Democrat again, but I definitely don't support the current state of affairs. That glorious concept of time. Those who have been watching me since the first show know I'm obsessed with time. And it is Friday, and I do have a job. And I'm also putting together the Jay Rooney episode 23. I'm hoping to get that out this afternoon or tomorrow, so make sure you check it out and subscribe to my Rumble channel. You can also find me on YouTube. Episode 23 might just rattle your brain a little. Maybe not. You might be already familiar with it, but I have a feeling you're not. If you missed yesterday's episode of the RooneyBin, go check it out. It was a good one. Anyway, happy Friday. Thank you so much for listening. Go for a few walks this weekend. Don't eat too much and get some rest. The RooneyBin edition of the Jay Rooney Show.